Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Natty News Daily podcast. We negotiated a time difference and daylight savings here this morning. We are back again with Daniel Risgaard, who, oh, we lost James for a second. I'm sure he'll be back. Um,
Back with Daniel
Daniel,
Risgaard
we're
and
we're
not
gonna
James.
recap the DFNA European Championships here. We are what I can't even keep track of time. I think 2 weeks removed from it now at this point. So. We've kind of we're back home. We're settled in. You're mentally settled in, although you've had some all sorts of fun the last few days. So yeah, wanted to get you back on, recap the show, talk about it, talk about the fun stuff that went on, what you thought about it, what we thought about it, and then looking forward on and lots of stuff in between. So Daniel, how you doing, man?
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for having me again. It was a true pleasure to have you guys in Denmark. It made a lot of excitement. I could feel like the tension from the athletes, the people in the audience, like everybody was very excited that you guys were there, and it had the exact like result that I hoped for. So
Very
kudos
glad
to
to
you
hear that.
guys for that. And I enjoyed having the taking the time to get you guys on stage and give you guys your flowers. I think that was a nice moment. Get some recognition from the Danish crowd as well. Yeah, it obviously I can imagine it's weird to travel from the other side of the world and then get to a country and be like, all right, how are they gonna welcome us? How is it gonna be? But I hope you guys felt welcome at
Very much so.
okay.
Yeah, I mean everyone was super kind to us, enthusiastic with us, and the crowd we talked about it was enormous and super, you know, enthused for the
The
show and
show and
everything like that. James is echoing. Oh, we're good. Um, Lost my train of thought. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I thought we were welcome with very open arms, and I was, very very happy with that. So, um, yeah.
it's good to hear. Happy to hear that. That's nice. What about you, James? What do you think? What do you think about? Did you feel welcome in Denmark? And how was your
Oh,
just basically? Yeah.
absolutely. I talked about it a couple different times with a bunch of different people. You had a whole army working for you, right? And that was great to see and how passionate everyone was about making the show really spectacular. But that also included like we had people all day running up to the booth. Do you guys need water? Do you need snacks? Like, what do you need? Or like, here, let me show you where this is. Let me show you where that is. Finding athletes for us to interview. I mean, it was a production and it seemed very organized chaos. But I
Yeah.
mean, the whole time it wasn't like we just kind of wandered around wanting what to do. It was if we needed anything, it was taken care of. And that goes as far as, opening up the gym for us to train at when we wanted to do that. And so yeah, we were very, very appreciative of just how easy everything was for us because it was a lot of travel and a lot of logistics on both sides. But there was a
Yeah.
lot of kind of unknowns of us just like, well, I guess we're just gonna show up at the venue and I hope the hotel's taken care of and I hope we'll find food and we'll do it. And food was there and the hotel was phenomenal and walking distance. So yeah, it was as streamlined as something of that endeavor could be.
All right. Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that. That's the best review right there. Put that in a trust pilot. That's great.
Yeah,
All right.
it was
So,
super streamlined. I know I don't know what I missed when I had to reboot my computer, but it was a lot of travel. I think I'm still recovering from it a little bit, but I don't think any one of us regrets going over there. I think just meeting the people that we met and having that experience was something that I don't think, unfortunately, most people will have the opportunity to within the sport.
oh, that's awesome. I really like to hear that. Also, because I have a few ideas for the future as well, including you guys. So I'm gonna let you guys in on that in another episode, in another talk. But I think it was a success, and I see there's a chance of making it even bigger. I heard your last episode when you spoke about the venue and the booths and stuff like that, and what they do at Mr. America, and all that. The part about having athletes, icons in the sport show up, shake hands, do autographs, or even like a seminar, stuff like that. And already have a list of what we can do, and the ODC, the Open Danish Championship, has a big place for the venue. So the only thing that was, I would say, less awesome
Give it a
is
minute.
is that it's a theater. So the venue, the ODC, we have a lot of booths and stuff like that. So the expo can actually be a lot bigger.
Yeah, so the audio just caught back up, Daniel. We were able to hear it, but it was a little bit delayed. So I think are we good now? Can you still hear us?
Okay. All right. The Wi-Fi here and
Yeah, that's the technical
yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
stuff internationally, right? So you were saying like the ODC, you guys have a much larger venue where you could do some of like the things we talked about, like exhibitions and seminars, and you just have a little bit more space available to you, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be something that I want to get you guys on as well. I think we can make a very big expo at the ODC in the future. So exciting things to come.
And that one is
All right.
open
So
championship, right? So it's not just for Danish athletes. Just we'll plug it right now. We may as well, right? So if you're going to make this big event, people need to know about it a little bit, right?
yeah, this is an open championship, which means people from all countries can go and compete here at the Open Danish Championships. We're going to make sure to all the posters it will say open to all countries, just so people know. The next competition is in May, the 9th and 10th. And it is amazing as well. It's in the south of Denmark, so it's very beautiful with lakes and stuff like that. It's one of the most beautiful places in Denmark, so also very nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the next competition.
Maybe you have to slide.
All right, so I'm guessing we just spoke about the Europeans. You guys told me just before this interview, like something about what happened and if there were anything that wasn't supposed to happen or something behind the scenes and stuff like that. What would you guys like to know when it comes to that part?
Well, I mean, so you just look so calm, cool, and collected the entire weekend that we just assumed nothing went wrong and everything went, perfectly to plan. But knowing the sport, I know that that's not the case. So just so people kind of understand the depth of like what goes into these shows, talk about like some of the backstage stuff, some of the issues, the problems that you guys faced.
Tell the story about the how you bought out every local supplement shop. That one
Yeah,
was funny to me.
so yeah, the thing is, like, there's so many people, sponsors, tech guys, the venue, so many people involved in a competition like this. So on game day, we have over 100 people all working together, and everybody has to make sure that like everything clicks and everything clicks at the same time. And when you have a lot of people working together, if there is one link that's missing, you will feel it all the way through. And one thing that happened, which I will clarify, we've solved it, and the sponsor is taking full responsibility and has worked things out. So all good. But we were unfortunate to receive 500 kilos of 500 kilos less protein powder. so like half a ton of whey and stuff like that was missing. We were like, that's a lot of money and it's very expensive. That's a lot of prices. So we were like, what do we do? So I just called my crew up and was like, all right, what you do? The van I had leased, I just had them drive around Randers and went to a big store called Bilka, and they just emptied the shelves, like finding all the Body Lab supplements that was like in the stores. So I knew that I could send them the bill afterwards and be like, you guys are gonna pay this. But But man, that was stressful. Like last minute, stand there, and we've, a selling point and something we were proud of was the big amount of prizes, and then lacking such a huge part of it. We were like, all right, we need to. Oh, see, Benjamin. Sorry, that's to say goodbye to a strength coach. So a big part of it was like, what do we do? We had no idea, so we like just drove around the city and like emptied the shelves and made sure that the athletes still got good prizes. So that was funny. Quite the last minute thing you did not want to have at a competition, right?
Yeah. But you made it work, right? Like we didn't know it until after the fact when you told us, right? And I don't think any of the athletes would have noticed because there was a lot of other stuff, prizes and giveaways and things in the athlete bags. So yeah, they were well taken care of for sure.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like we were happy that we had so much we gave to the athletes, so they did it. I hope they didn't feel it. But I guess like on the second day, on Sunday, the supplement company came through with things, so they got the original prices. But yeah, it is what it is. I think they all got the same amount, like the same worth. It was just different things they got. So all good. But I think when it comes to competitions like this, it's the main thing is you must never expect it to be perfect. And a great analogy I heard from the stage master. Do you remember the stage master? Same hair as me, the guy Jan Kim, like brilliant. He's so good at what he does. He told me something the night before that was very good. And he told me like, when you do a posing routine as a bodybuilder, the only person in the audience that knows how it's supposed to look like is you. So if you make a mistake, you just have to roll with it because nobody knows you made the mistake. But you can tell if there's an athlete like almost punishing themselves when I missed one, and you can just tell, you can see that something went wrong because his face looks like he forgot something. But if you make a mistake and just roll with it, nobody knows you made the mistake. And that's the same thing with hosting bodybuilding competitions. It's like nobody knows what my vision is. So if there ever is a mistake, do not dwell on it, just move on. And that happened like 10 times. But every time I was like, yeah, move on. Yeah, we're not doing this, we're doing something else. So, and I believe that's very important for a promoter to do that. And the more ideas, the more you want to make something spectacular, the more people involved, the bigger the chances of something not being how you want it to be. A great thing, an idea, no, not just an example, actually, what it is. So we have the stage master, right? He has the headset. Every time there is a break, every time there's nothing going on stage, it's very important that the audience will be entertained. So if the stage is black, we put a video on. Or we put a commercial on, we put logos on. There's never a moment where there's nothing happening in the audience. It's very important that this is a show and we keep the energy going. Because what happens if their energy is lost in the audience and the athletes step on stage, the athletes will feel it. So we have to keep them energized. So when Jan Kim knows, okay, the stage will be all black, he has to tell the guy up there at the front of house, all right, put this video on. And then the guy has to speak to the German team. All right, make sure that this is the video that's on. So you have to have these logos on the side screens because the video and the side screens has to match. So this is a Danish guy commuting with a Danish guy who's commuting with a German guy. And within 3 seconds, it all has to work out, right? And that's hard. That's very hard. But we're perfecting it every time. And the ODC for sure was more smooth than the Europeans. So the Open Danish Championship, the one we usually do each year in May, much more smooth, better timing, stuff like that. But since it was a new venue, I was like, all right, I expected it. I was like, we're gonna make mistakes because when there's a crew member that has to find an athlete that has to go on now, they don't know the corridors as well. So oftentimes it's like an athlete who wins their class, they forget they have to be on in the overall. So our crew, we have a person who's called a runner. She's a strong powerlifter, and she's like basically like just pulling them up and to taking them to the stage, right? And she had to find this girl, and she was just gone. So she just had to run around the whole thing. And if it's the first time you're on the venue, it can be hard for the runner as well, right?
Mhm.
So things like that, I noticed many times we weren't as smooth as we usually are. But then we get told from the judges and the other promoters, it's so smooth. And I was like, thank you, but it's not as good as it used to be.
Mhm. I
It
think
is what
part
it
of
is.
that is speaking to the standard of the sport in general, where we almost come to expect delays and holdups and issues. And then what you said, right? Like almost like hiding those issues in plain sight by using the advertising, the commercials, the marketing, the live stream. I know one time, because we were used to being on the stream, they used us on the screens, and that was a little bit of a
Yeah.
shock to hear myself talking to the audience. I was like, "Uh-oh, now we gotta." It's a little bit different when 800,000 people are listening to you right then and there, and you can see their reactions.
And I noticed something that you did
Yeah.
that was
Yeah, exactly.
different was during those downtimes you would actually pull the curtains down and then run the videos. Like you said, there's no dead time. Is that something you picked up from another show that you had done or from shows you had seen, like a miscellaneous show? Because I thought that was pretty cool because, I mean, most shows, like you said, it's kind of the dead time and you just see people kind of running around stage, like, I don't know, getting things ready versus you just blocked it off and then played video and then the audience
Yeah.
is captured by that. And then when everything's ready on stage, you pull the curtain back up and all of a sudden everything's ready. Everything's
Yeah.
ready to go.
So that was like a last minute thing we did, and I was because that wasn't the original plan. Usually we just have the projector playing because in Sønderborg, where we normally are at the ODC, they don't have a curtain.
Hmm.
And in Hamas and Bergen, they have like 100 curtains. It's crazy what they can do with the stage. So we figured, all right, what we'll do, we'll make sure that before the award ceremonies and stuff like that, we will make sure that everything is taken care of. We have the podium, we have all athletes lined up, we have everything ready every time.
Mhm.
But the videos we got from the sponsors, horizontal,
Mhm.
vertical screens outside of the curtain. That one bugged me. I was like, shit. But those small things, because the videos from the sponsors were perfect on the projector,
Mhm.
but they made the call. It would, in the total thing, would look better if everything was ready, just like you said, Dan. So I love the fact that you say that, because then
Yeah.
that's more important that the video is fitting the screens perfectly. But to me, I was like, if we had known, we would have asked the sponsors to give vertical videos.
Mhm.
So next time that won't happen. But
Yeah.
that's small things, right?
Again, one
It's
of
if
those
you're
things that I wouldn't even think about. And no, yeah, it looked good to me, and it was like, oh, this is great because this, everything. Whenever the stage is open, it's you're flowing. Versus when
yeah
it's closed, you got the videos and audience is still, entertained and not distracted by the miscellaneous run around stages, someone gathering, grabbing someone or something like that. So
exactly. No, that's great. And actually, that's a huge kudos to Jan Kim, because what he does, he's like, all right, we have 20 videos to pick from. I think we need around 2.5 minutes. All right, so this one, play this one, because they just pick the videos that fits the time space we need to get the stage ready. They're like, all right, oh, when he'll call the guy at front of house, he'll be like, we need another 30 seconds. Oh, I have one for 30 seconds here. Boom, and they play that one. So they use it as like to make sure that there's never a dull moment. And that's, I think that works very well. And we have a plan B, so to say. So if the audience is ever quiet, Lee Kemp will make sure to take care of that. So I listened to your podcast, and there was a moment where it was actually quiet in there, and he with his it was quite humoristic. He said, "Oh, this is the first time I can actually work like in silence and stuff like that." So, and then the audience went up again, right? So I think it's expected. It's a show that lasts 10 hours. Like, come on, it's hard to clap for 10 hours. Let's like
Mhm.
imagine how many calories you burn doing that. That's good need, right? So I'm thinking obviously there's going to be people that are quiet. But I think compared to people sitting in the audience for 10 hours straight, because a lot of people did that, I think they did good. I think
Yeah.
they did very good.
Yeah, and that's something to note too. The crowd was full, and it was full the whole day. You know, a lot of shows that we go to, you'll see these like big waves come in, and then as soon as their athlete is done, they all leave. But I think a lot of people were sticking around the whole time just to watch because it was so entertaining and it was so well done. And, you know, not to discredit just the community that it seems like the Danish bodybuilding has, right? Like everyone seemed to know everyone, everyone wanted to root for everyone. Wasn't like they were just there for their one family member or athlete. They were there to just root on their nation pretty much.
Exactly. And it's the Danish natural bodybuilding community it's crazy. Like I just moved my personal training to another gym. This is called Powerhouse in Copenhagen. I have my whole team of coaches here. Like we're training all our clients. I just trained Christopher like just before the session, and he's going to the Olympic Natural Olympia right now. And like everybody here, it's all natural bodybuilders, and they're all like all wearing DFNA stuff, and it's growing so fast in Denmark right now. Like the assisted part of bodybuilding, they're lacking behind. They just cannot keep up. And I believe that I think that's awesome. Like that's almost like the opposite of what it usually is, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the opposite of what it is still in most places of the world.
Yeah. But I believe like the next step right now, I'm working so hard to make this happen, is we doing athlete contracts. So if you're a Danish pro natural bodybuilder, you can actually earn money doing that. So they'll sign a contract where they have a certain set of things they have to do, just like a regular job. So they have to promote the sport, either guest pose or do a seminar, be present at the competition, the ODC, compete that year, stuff like that. So we have a certain sort of rules. It's not quite decided because obviously we also want to support them in their off season. It just has to make sense financially. But the next thing is like, because a lot of the Danish athletes are people studying, so they don't have a lot of money. So to earn like, let's say another $600, whatever, $700 a month is great for young people. So if we can do something like that, I think that's terrific, and that's the next goal. We want to reach that within 2026, like have 5 to 10 paid natural bodybuilders, because then it just doesn't make sense to not compete naturally. If you have bigger prize money, the community is great, the audience is full, the show is running great, you can even earn money off of it. Why would you ever go down the other route? And that's basically my job as a promoter, to just make it a no-brainer really to stay in natural bodybuilding. And if they decide to do something else, which I respect, then it's just because they have goals that are out of the realms of natural bodybuilding. They probably, if they wanted to go to the Olympia, the real Olympia, I say the real, the not natural Olympia.
We'll scrub that.
yeah. But I'm just saying, like, then they'll probably need to go assisted. We all know that.
Yeah.
So that's because of other ethics, I guess. So that's the goal right now, and I believe we just moved a bit closer to that with the Europeans, because other people saw the standard and also what we can do with our shows, stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit. Is that all just purely from sponsorship money that you're acquiring, that you're able to fund those future contracts, or how are you going about doing that?
Yeah, so the thing is, the way I run the DFNA is I basically run it like a company. So what we do, we have we sell merch, we sell obviously tickets, we sell live stream, stuff like that, right? But with the help of sponsors as well, and the membership of the federation from the athletes, that's the way we do it. So the whole thing is it's a non-profit. The DFNA, I don't get a dime. Everything that comes in, I give back to the athletes, and that's the way that I can have that kind of money, is because like everything that comes in goes back to them. But it takes a lot of work, because you have to the people that are a part of the DFNA should not just be athletes, because that won't cut it. it has to be people that are supporting natural bodybuilding through being a member of the DFNA. But then if you have members, you have some discounts. If you're a member, you get discounts at Body Lab supplements. If you're a member, you get discounts at this coffee shop. If you're a member, you get discount at this online coaching site. Like, so actually, if you, at the end of the day, people will probably save as much as they spend on the membership.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes sense. If you can make it a no-brainer, they're supporting a great cause, which is clean sport, and they get a lot of discount codes I've made with companies, all the sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
In that way, it's people don't see it as a way of spending money. It's to get the discount codes, right?
I actually love that, because I think that's one of the things we see in the US a lot, and probably even within like us. And like, I know for a fact, Leroy, you'll pay for your membership the year you're competing, but then when you're not, you let it drop unless there's some legislation in place where you have to keep it to keep your status valid as a pro or whatever, because all our federations have different rules. But if you incentivize the people with discounts and perks and benefits, it takes it beyond just keeping your membership because you want to help the sport, but now you're gaining something on the backside of that. So I think that's a great way to look about doing it, and probably pretty feasible, honestly, because most of these show promoters, most of the presidents have relationships with supplement companies and merch companies. And I mean, that's the whole goal, right? So I like that. I wish more people did that, honestly.
I think it's due to, you just have to be a person that has a lot of connections. And that's the thing, like all my years of doing personal training and coaching, I've acquired a lot of friendships with people who run companies and stuff like that. And as long as I just make sure that it's a great deal for them as well, like it should never be me just taking advantage of having my connections. They have to feel that they get something back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing. Every time I do a deal with someone, I just want to make sure that they feel they got the same thing as me. And oftentimes I want to give myself just 5% less, because if they get 5% more, then I know I did everything I could.
Mm-hmm.
So if they didn't feel like they had a great deal, I'm going to be like, all right, I guess we're just not working together, because I actually gave you more than I got out of it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, so good. It works greatly. And you cannot run a business with the goal of earning money. You have to run a business with the goal of making a great business, and then money will come. I believe that very much. And natural bodybuilding is the same thing. Like, I call it a business, but I don't earn money off of it. But it's because it's the goal of the business is something else. It's growing natural bodybuilding, right?
Yeah. And I think that's huge. And that's a great mindset to have too, right? Like, your goal is to elevate the sport, to grow the sport, to support the athletes. Your goal is not, let's make a bunch of money and then in the process help the sport. You know, it's a reversal of what we see, unfortunately, I think, in some situations. But I do think a lot of promoters get into it for that reason. They just either don't have the resources you have or the connections you have. And then it's just this kind of like fight to get to the status that you're at, maybe.
I guess so, but you know what? Same thing with you guys. You guys do the exact same thing that I do. Like, it's a tremendous amount of work. So much heart and soul put into promoting natural bodybuilding. You keep doing it. And I don't know the finances, but I'm guessing that you don't earn $100,000 each year, like off of it, right? So where does it come from?
Yeah.
And I feel like we're privileged, like to be able to do this. And like for me, I had like a moment on stage when I got you guys on where I felt like, all right, imagine these guys are around the same age as me. They're living on the other side of the country, of the world, and we've all had the same goals. Like, we grew up with the same exact ethics, goals, role models, probably. Like, we've all watched Chris Jones, Matt Ogre, stuff like that, right? And then now we're all doing this together in Denmark, promoting natural bodybuilding. Like, there was something, I want to say, almost magical about that. It's just for a brief moment, like, this is so weird, actually, that we all have the same goals and we've never met before. I think that's pretty cool. And I believe if you have that thing, if you're driven by passion for that, you don't need the payment. It obviously it's gonna come at one point, And I don't think people will blame us for actually being able to put bread on our tables and stuff like that, obviously. But it has to come from another place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and there's indirect benefits, right? Like we won't lie, like we have some sponsorships where we make a little bit of money here and there, but the finances, we're not getting paid these large contracts to go do these shows and things like that. So, but by being present, you grow awareness of what we're doing, you grow awareness of the sport, and then indirectly, Leroy and I are coaches. You grow awareness of like, hey, like this guy might know something that he's talking about, and maybe I'll look into him a little bit more. So there are indirect paths to financial success, but that's not why, you don't do what we're doing to make money. That'd be a very bad investment because it's, like you said, a lot of time, a lot of conversations, a lot of finagling your schedule. But at the end of the day, we've seen what we've done for the sport, right? Like at first, I think we were a little bit shy about like what impact we were having, but every show we go to, people are thanking us for what we're doing. Presidents of federations are thanking us and reaching out to us to try and get on the podcast. So that tells us that we have an impact and we have, the ear of the athletes at least. So yeah, it's been a fun journey. And I definitely felt that moment myself. Probably when Leroy threw me the mic first to talk, but it was just a moment where like, I've been on stage as an athlete quite a few times. So I'm used to like looking out at the crowd in that way, but to just gather your thoughts in that moment and say like, man, like I'm about to address like a crowd of people that I've never met, never had a conversation with these people at all. I'm just some American that, is handed a mic. And you're right. It's a culmination of years of work to say like, hey, we just got like flown across the world to do what we love to do. Like that's how many people can say that inside the sport or outside the sport, right? Like how many people can travel internationally for not just a job, but a passion and a hobby? I think that's huge.
Exactly. Well, that's nice. What about you, Dan? What do you think? How did you feel about
that? It was almost surreal. You know, um, the natural bodybuilding community is so amazing, and the crowd. I mean, like James alluded to, we had a full crowd in front of us, and we're just a couple Americans and a Canadian, like, and it kind of like, I kind of would think back like years back when Natty News Daily started. I kind of, it just kind of went through my head like, wow, I can't believe like, a few Instagram DMs about let's start promoting some athletes and posting some photos and some news updates on Instagram with Leroy 4 years ago turned into, wow, I'm in Denmark now with in on a stage being thanked with a full audience who all love natural bodybuilding, and I just got flown, across the Atlantic. Like this is wild. This is
that?
amazing. Yeah. So, and yeah, the love for natural bodybuilding was definitely in the air. It was surreal.
It's good to hear that. That's awesome. Yeah. I think it's when you're standing here like 14 days later, this is the weirdest thing. Like you know how athletes have post-competition blues,
Mm.
and I feel that as well. Like really, truly, I'm like,
After that show.
yeah, like it's the same thing. Like you're like so much work put into, and
Mm.
weekend was itself was crazy stuff like that, and then afterwards you're like that was it. That's
Yeah.
it. It's so weird, and you just have to be thankful for the moment and enjoy it, and it's all a part of the big plan, right? This was just instead of a small step, it was a bigger step, but all part of the big plan. But it's so weird. Like the post competition blues is truly a thing. Um, I'm still pretty alert because there was a lot of things afterwards happening, stuff I had to take care of, like some live stream stuff. Yeah, that was a shame. Like we're still working on it, but the Saturday is perfect. You can purchase that and still rewatch it. There's something wrong with the Sunday for some reason.
Mm.
Yeah, so that will probably cause some changes in the future with who we're working with. So that's
Mm.
it is what it is, and that one of those things that can happen. that can happen, and it's out of your hands. Again, one of those things where you want to make everything perfect, but yeah, shit happens, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's not your expertise either, right? So it's not like you have a direct hand in that. You just have to have trust that the people that you've hired and the people that are working with you know what they're doing. And it seems like they do, obviously, but mistakes happen, accidents happen, and just random stuff happens. Like we know technology, right? Like this podcast started with my computer just randomly restarting itself. Like, oh, sweet. You know,
exactly. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like you have to be okay with people. Also, that's another thing. That's the hardest part about doing this. I'm okay with messing up because I can take all the blame. I'm good with that. I can carry that on my shoulders. But if I have people that I love close to me that mess up, and then they get some sort of bad rap, I would hate that. And that's one of the reasons I'm very bad at giving out jobs and actually having people to take some sort of responsibility. I have to work on that a lot because otherwise I will get run down by stress. But that's a
See, I
very
think
hard.
that's a strong skill of yours, actually. Even though you might beat yourself up about it, I think I was actually thinking your ability to leverage your network and outsource. I mean, it's so important to run a truly big show because you need you know, a crowd of people in order to put that together. An army of people, like James said, to, put on an amazing event like that. So, I think it's a strong skill of yours personally,
Oh
but
man, but I have to get. I have
internally, I think it's probably more of a challenge than.
yeah, I appreciate that a lot. If you ask my girlfriend, she'll tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can certainly get better at it. But it's a process, right? And but I appreciate that. I think it's a the thing is like the crowd. A lot of people in the crowd I know. A lot of people in the crew I know a lot. Like I know them all. They're basically 90% of them are my clients. So the people that were like in the crew, all my clients, or former clients, or family. So it's network, and it's people that if known for many 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 years. And I got messages from all of them back afterwards, and they were like thankful for being there and wanted to do the next ODC. And that's a good sign for me. Then I know I took care of them. But it's truly important to have good people in your corner, and you cannot do everything by yourself. And I've learned that. I don't know if you guys know this, but the second year I ran the Open Danish Championship, I actually got a herniated disc, and it was a stress fracture from I had too much stress, and it was not physical, like literally. And then I trained a bit too hard, combined with psychological stress, and I got that. And I was visiting a physio, and he was like, "You're not gonna believe this, but to be honest with you, I think there's your cup is just too full. So it's just up here, and every time you pour something into it, if either it's physical stress or psychological stress, it will spill over. You just have to pull back. So that's the part I learned. All right, I have to I have to give out some of the tasks, right? Responsibility.
Yeah. We could do a whole podcast on just that itself. It's something I see in athletes all the time. It's something that like all athletes kind of inherently know, right? When they've had a hard day at work and they're already deep in prep and they try and go work out, like your chances of something going wrong are just elevating every single time something happens. But yeah, the more you can offload and delegate to, as an athlete, like a coach, or like work on your fatigue management and things like that, it helps. And then for you, yeah, if you didn't have that team, I mean, you can't do the drug testing and the promotion and run the stage and make sure the judging is taken care of. Like you have to trust all your staff. You just have to have some inherent level that like they know what they're doing and they're going to do it, and you check in with them, right, to guide them. But
Exactly.
your big thing, right? So yeah, it's.
Speaking of drug testing, you guys, I heard something about the polygraphs and stuff like that. I want to address that. So.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't know if you ever met the drug testing crew. All right, so there are the same
I
people
chatted
who
with him a little bit, yeah.
they're the same people who test at the Evo Classic and all the German competitions. It's called Global Quality Sports, which is like we're not doing the tests our own. We cannot do that. So they're the ones doing everything. Like so, I fly them in as well.
Third party. Yep.
Yeah, they're very good at what they do. And then, but what I thought was like it's very expensive to test everybody, right? So I test as much as I can. I have a certain budget, and I just tell them test as many as you possibly can. And if you need to do blood tests, you can do that as well. So if they see something or if they catch something on the polygraph, which they feel like maybe you need, it would be other compounds, then it would do the blood test, right?
Mhm.
But regards to the polygraph, that's quite interesting. So at the Danish shows, we always polygraph everybody. So as much as possible, like we just have this guy sit there for like 12 hours, like in a row, just polygraphing as much as possible. But since we're part of the INBA, PNBA, the polygraphs back in the day were a part of the PNBA as well. So they were just as the WNBF, it was the same thing. They polygraphed a lot. But then there were some instances with polygraphs being, what was that? Negative. So it was good, but then the urine test was positive. I was like, that's the worst thing that can happen, right? Because that proves that the polygraph is not right. And certainly the person wasn't something. So, and they had a few instances with that in the, I believe it was Switzerland and some places. And I spoke with Michael from Global Quality Sports about that because he was actually a bit skeptical about me having the polygraph. But the way we do polygraphs is we are not giving people a, what is this called in English? Like, you know how you get a felony or something like that. If you have a positive urine or blood test, then you like excluded from sports within the WADA system.
Yep.
Officially. But if you have a positive polygraph test and not, if you cannot go through it without failing, then you will be excluded just from the Danish federation because the INBA does not use polygraphs anymore because of those instances. So that's a choice from the INBA that you just spend more money on the urine samples. But I just like, we've always done polygraphs in Denmark. So I just use it as a way to go do even more. And that's the reason why when we do a European Championship, we cannot polygraph everybody. We can only polygraph the Danes because I cannot kick out people because of the polygraph, because it's not a mandatory, it's not a requirement in the INBA.
Right.
So that was interesting. And to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure where I stand about it because I just want to test as much as possible. And we've had instances in Denmark with people not passing the polygraph test. And that's the reason why we do it. So it's very important, I believe. And then they're excluded from the Danish federation. They cannot compete within the DFNA federation. It's very important. And what I do, if there is an instance of a positive polygraph test, I will let the other leaders know within the INBA and tell them, just so you know, I know this does not count as being excluded from competition, but this person failed the polygraph, just so you know. So if you guys see an entry from this person, be aware of this.
Is there some sort of like remediation process where if that person volunteers to do blood testing or urine testing, they could almost like come back in, or is it just failure and you're out? Because we've seen that in other federations as well.
No, to me, I'm very strict about the polygraphs. Like, if you fail it, you get another chance. And if you fail that, too late. So, because sometimes it's inconclusive. And if it's inconclusive, I want that you have a certain set of tests. So the guy testing for us is the same guy the WMBF uses in Norway and another country. I'm not sure of the last one. And you have certain different tests. And if it's inconclusive, then they will dig deep into that, have another appointment. And then if that's still not passed, then they cannot compete. And if they say, I want to do a urine, thing. It's very you have to focus on each individual case. We have off of the polygraphs got people admitting to taking things. So it's not the fact that they don't pass the polygraph test that we ban them, so to say. The polygraph is just a tool to get them to admit something if they have done something, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had cases with that where people be like, all right, yeah, I thought, yeah, I did this thing 6 years ago. And we're like, all right, appreciate your honesty. Obviously, you cannot compete then. When you can return and pass the polygraph test, then you can compete again. And we have a 7-year rule. So it's not, it's the old rules within the WNBF. I believe it was 7 and then it turned to 10.
Mm-hmm.
We have the old 7-year thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way we do it. So we just tell athletes that have, if they cannot pass, we'll be like, all right, but when you can return and pass this, we take notes of what they were obviously positive from.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they can return, they can obviously compete again. So it doesn't matter if they can do a urine test, because urine is like the last 3 months. But if they did something 4 years ago, that will not show on a urine test. It will also not show on a blood test.
Mm-hmm.
So they cannot use that as an example. And we've actually had athletes not passing the polygraph use the argument, yeah, but they wouldn't let me do a urine test. And we're like, yeah, dude, because you failed on something you did 4 years ago. We know that it will be negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see how that could erase the polygraph. But if it's a case-to-case thing, if it's something they did yesterday, and there's something like, yeah, it's inconclusive,
Then both,
then we could do it, the urine test, sure thing.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted the listeners to be able to like listen through the thought process behind that, because I don't think it's talked about enough. It's just kind of like, this is our rules, and then people like fight over whether the polygraph is valid or not. But to like hear someone like think through and talk through why they choose to do it the way they do, I think is important.
Because I want to hear you guys' thoughts on it. So the polygraphs within the WNBF, we were former WNBF federation. The rules are everybody has to be polygraphed, and I believe it's like a 10-minute polygraph. So it's a fairly short, fairly brief polygraph test. Then we had at the DFNA, we had these long ones, like 1 hour polygraph tests, like brutal to get through, brutal for the examiner as well. That's a long time. But we did those instead because we felt like the thing with the polygraph is that it's not the part about, if it's a very short one, I believe it's easier to lie. But if it's a long one and you have to keep on doing it, and the machine will get every reaction from you, you'll probably have a harder time to like again and again and again keep lying about the same thing. So we figured longer tests would be better.
Mm-hmm.
And that was due to some things Lee Kemp stated, actually, because he works within the police. But the problem is that how do you test 100 people if one test is
100 times an hour, yeah.
So to be honest with you, like the 10-minute polygraphs, I think it's a great thing to do. It's better than not doing it. But it's still like, to me, it would make more sense to have a long one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very hard to do in practice, because it has to be very small shows that are able to do that. So I'm quite all over the place with that. But what we've done, we have like a middle, something in between. So it's more of like a 20-minute polygraph. So it's a longer version. Mm-hmm. And I just told the guy, like, his name is Örjan. I was like, I want you to do longer. You can maximum have 3 athletes within an hour. Okay. And I want sharp up here as well. So I want him to do 2 breaks within the day. I don't want him to do 12 hours straight. I'm like, you have the most important role right here. This is natural bodybuilding. I want your head to be screwed on right. So take breaks. It's fine. Make sure that you're very focused while you do these things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it definitely is important. The longest that you can feasibly do, I think, is probably the best way to term it. Just because, yeah, you have 200, 250 athletes. you can't get through an hour-long, polygraph. But I think it's a very good deterrent, right? Like, what person's going to want to sit through something that's that length and run the risk of failing? They'll just hopefully walk away at that point. And I think other federations have seen that, where when polygraphs were announced, I think WMBF UAE, the Dubai show, those guys had 5 to 7 people, I believe, in their first year pulled themselves from the contest when they announced they were doing a polygraph. So that in itself was the deterrent, where they said, you know what, I'm not even going to mess with it. Or they just didn't know, or, whatever their decision to try and do the show was, I don't know. But yeah, like it serves a purpose. I think the reports of like false positives are probably pretty minimal. That's the only downside I could see. The athlete who is truly honest and just for whatever reason they're overly anxious, or but it happens. I can only think of 1 or 2 cases of people that have even claimed that, and then again, you're trusting that they are being honest, that it was a false positive and they didn't lie about something. So it's tough to say.
But this is the most important thing to discuss, because we have had no instances of people being positive with having them being completely honest. Like, we have had some cases where it's like, I don't want to dig into this. This is important, that this is private.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can say is we've had people who could not get through the polygraph without failing, and what they admitted to taking stuff, but it was not very harmful stuff, and it was stuff that was like in a gray area. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then having cases of people trying to cheat the test, like constantly, like you could see like breathing patterns, like every time before a certain set of questions, they would do that. So I believe that we've not had any cases where I'm like, oh man, second thoughts about it. We've never had that, but the thing is, like, if a person took maybe something like a dehydrating product for like a few years ago, will the person need to be banned now for that? That's a hard part. But the thing is, an athlete goes down that road and do some kind of compounds, right? And maybe something else, and maybe purchase something here and there and stuff like that, but haven't used it, stuff like that. I believe it's very hard to call that person a true natural athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot to do with ethics and morals. Like, I am natural, I don't touch anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because once it turns into a gray area, it was like, no, I used this, but that was only 6 years ago. This one was only 3 years ago, but that has no use now. I believe that's a gray area, because then new compounds and new drugs from the medical industry turns up every day.
Mm-hmm.
And once you let something slide and you're like, that's okay, and that's also fine, then that's a problem. I think we should just make sure that, all right, take your creatine, do your protein powder, man. Just don't do anything with any risk. Why would you do that? You're a natural athlete. Just, you have your genetics, you have your hard work, do your thing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with anti-doping. I believe that if you're going to do it, I think you should do it right. And you should make no exceptions. There's no gray areas in anti-doping. Either you're clean or you're not. And I believe that's very important, but very, very hard for an athlete who's thinking that, I'm pretty sure that you cannot detect this in my body now, and that's all that matters. Not really.
Yeah, the athlete that's trying to get the most advantage within the laws and fudging the lines a little bit. So, and unfortunately, that's probably easy to do just with the number of things that are at easy access for people nowadays. I will say though, like, younger individuals are much more easily influenced and might not be educated. So I think the rules of like certain things being certain years removed helps kind of cover for that error, right? If you're 16 years old and you take something that's probably not overly harmful and you realize it, and you wait your couple years and now you're 25 and you want to compete, there's probably an argument to be made for that. But the people that are intentional about trying to like stay just outside of the scope of the rules, yeah, that's a different conversation.
all studies, you guys know, your trainers, your love to train yourselves. All studies show that there's some sort of a benefit when you've used performance enhancing drugs in the past. Like either if it's satellite cells or whatever it is, like you see that people will have just a bit of advantage.
Mhm.
And I think that's very important to recognize. And the people who have done drugs and now want to compete 10 years later as a natural, like take a hard look on yourself, because the guy next to you, he did not do that.
Mhm.
Does it feel as good to win the gold trophy? I don't know, man. I don't know. But that's up to the athletes themselves, because the rules are rules. And if the rule is 10-year clean,
Yep.
that's what it is. But that's the hard part about natural bodybuilding, and that's the worst. That's the thing I hate the most about being in my position. I have to make very hard decisions, and for me, the decisions is no gray areas. Like it's just what it is. And then if they want to do gray areas, they can compete other places, but not in my place. It's like you're clean if you're clean. I believe so.
That's the route you have to take, just to keep it as pure as you can. So, but we're just over an hour here. So I want to respect your time, our time, everyone's time. So Daniel, why don't we finish up some kind of closing thoughts coming off the weekend? You hinted at some plans going forward. Anything that you want to leave the listeners with just as like a parting message?
Okay. Oh, that's a hard one.
Mhm.
Okay, so I have like this is two separate things. So first of all, I think it would be great to hear if the listeners, the followers, enjoyed having you guys cooperate, because I believe it would make sense for you guys to do more of this, like
Mhm.
visit more competitions, do more collaborations. If people don't have the network you guys have, you can help them build it, and share the word of natural bodybuilding, give the athletes a bigger platform to be showcased on. So that would be great to hear if people enjoyed that, because that part is crucial. And I believe for other promoters to maybe be inspired or whatever it is to collab with guys like you. I think that's a huge opportunity. I believe that's important. And second, I just think that we, the Danes, just love natural bodybuilding, and we want to welcome everybody to come compete with us. And we have big plans for the future. This was not the last international show. I can say that. I cannot say any more than that. But I have had some offers already now to do huge shows, and I have not yet answered what I'm gonna do. We're planning on doing something like me and my girlfriend, like possibly at one point make a family. I have some things that is also very important. But this is not the last international show, and I believe we're gonna do something big, and I'm gonna send you guys a message again and be like, all right, guys, I hope you're up for a trip, another fucking 20-hour trip, because if I'm ever gonna do something as big as the Europeans or bigger, which it might end up being, I think I will not do it without you guys. You guys are an important part of that.
We appreciate that for sure. That means a lot, honestly, that we put on a good show for you guys, and seemingly you enjoyed what we did, and I think the crowd did and the listeners did. But yeah, I'm interested to hear some of the feedback as well. So yeah, thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot to us. And from my perspective, any show that Daniel is putting on, promoting, if you're thinking about doing, has my stamp of approval. You will have a good experience there. So, um, slight bias, maybe a little bit, but even if we're not there, if Daniel's involved, I would highly recommend doing that show. So,
Appreciate that a lot. And yeah, the next part, we're going to the Natural Olympia now. We're flying in 3 days.
Yeah.
We're going to Las Vegas, and we have a team of 8 Danes, which 7 of them are pros and one amateur, and we're gonna see if we can kick some ass. This is gonna be exciting. Hopefully we can hang, but we'll see. We'll see.
We've seen the quality. I don't think there'll be any doubt to whether you guys deserve to be on that stage or not. So yeah, well, best of luck to the Danes for sure.
Thank you so much. And as always, a pleasure speaking to you guys. And I'll talk to you later. We have some things we have to settle as well after the competition and stuff, but we'll get into that later.
Awesome, Daniel. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your time this morning. Appreciate you flying us out there. It was amazing, and look forward to future stuff. So
Yeah, same to you guys. All right. See you.
awesome.
All right. And we got to close it out the official way, Leroy's way, right? If you guys like this episode, like, subscribe, follow, share, spread the word so that we can help grow natural bodybuilding. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys in the next one.